I saw Ernest Goes to Africa or Ernest Goes to School and kind of think, maybe it'll be fun. But how could I take a copy of the Ernest DVD to the hot Blockbuster employee? She definitely would not sleep with me then if I brought up an Ernest
but did she
movie.
sleep with you at all?
No.
Lights, camera, and action. Welcome to the I Remember Liking That Movie podcast. Remember those childhood movies you loved? We're going to watch them again and find out if they're still as amazing as you remember. Let's get ready to join Anna and Jimmy as they go back and watch those movies you remember being oh so awesomely good. Horror movies that scared. Comedy movies that dared.
Damn!
And action movies so preposterously ludicrous that they defied the laws of common sense. Now, here's your hosts, Anna Santos and Jimmy Coates.
Sweatshirt has Santa Claus and a rabbi in a chimney, and like Santa Claus is holding, I think it's like a cup of eggnog, and the rabbi is holding a bottle of Manischewitz. I got it one year because Christmas Eve was also the first night of Hanukkah, and I was working that day at
nice.
tea. So I was like wearing it, and then there was like this whole group of grown men dressed as elves who were running in to take a picture with Santa. So they took a picture with me and my coworker. Merry Christmas.
Yes, I got my elf, Will Ferrell elf.
Oh, super cute.
I love this thing, but it is impossible to fucking drink from it.
Oh, that's
there's
asking for a spill down the front of your shirt.
Oh yeah, every time it always at the very least.
Yeah.
Like I like it. I love.
No, it's super cute. You should totally plant a little mini evergreen in there.
Oh yeah, actually that's not. Oh, maybe I could put that. Actually, a lot of my Christmas ones are like that. They're just for show. They're not to actually drink out of.
Oh no,
sucks.
My Christmas mugs. I don't have that many Christmas mugs, but they're all very drinkable.
Yeah, I'll be honest. When I sent you the list, of all the different Christmas movies we could do, and you said Ernest, I was like, "Fuck."
Why?
Well, it's not like I didn't. Because I would watch it, but there was a bunch of movies on there that I wanted to watch, and Ernest really wasn't one of them. But it was kind of because it was a kids movie, it was a comedy movie.
Yeah.
But the more I got. Because I have not seen this movie in a very, very long time. Like a very long time.
I haven't seen it since probably a year.
Early
after it came
90s. Out. Yeah. But when I got thinking about it, and the more I delved into it, the more I got excited about watching Ernest.
Well, because what I remember, like Ernest was an institution at that time. Like he was a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah. And that's kind of what we're going to get into.
Yeah. And then briefly. I remember that there was, I think, a scandal of some sort.
Oh, a scandal. I didn't get that.
There was something that kind of pushed him out of the spotlight. And I don't know what it was. We'll figure that out.
Probably too many Ernest movies. Or
I think it was just that he was a bit of a partier. And they were like, this does not jive with Ernest.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't think it was bad as Pee Wee Herman being caught.
No, but he made a comeback. Good for him.
Yeah.
Apparently he can come back from...
Jim Varney didn't get that chance. Jim Varney died at 50 years old. Not that old.
No, he was sick, wasn't he?
He did a lot of commercials and speaking about not smoking for kids and stuff like that. But apparently he smoked a lot, like a few packs a day, a lot. And he died of lung cancer at 50 years old.
That makes sense. Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah. Okay, so we usually do not go into the history of the making of the movies that we watch, since our goal is to see if we still like them, not how they were made or what problems they had during production or any actor rumors or stuff like that. We go into a bit of the pop culture and the time period, mostly within the same month of when our movie was released. But this time, especially for this movie, I wanted to just give a bit of history about our friend and yours, Ernest P. Worrell. Ernest was played by Jim Varney and created by the Nashville advertising agency Cardin and Cherry, and was used in various local television ad campaigns. The first one they ever shot was for an amusement park, and Cherry, the main creator, said it was so bad that it should not have gone on TV. The amusement park closed down 3 months later, but the Ernest character was so popular on TV that other companies started to request this character. So basically, Ernest would pester his unseen neighbor, Vern, offering some unwanted advice, some useless facts, then introduce the product and cap it off with how awesome that product is, and with his signature, know what I mean? It became so popular that kids started imitating him, and his catchphrase was popping up all over the place. It got the attention of tons of major corporations who also wanted exclusive rights to the character. Cherry declined. He did some national spots for Coke, Chex, and this thing called Taco John's, but without handing over any rights. So popular that it attracted the attention of Disney, who would make his movies under Bonavista, and they would make 4 feature films, and he would make another one after that with a different production company, and then 5 direct-to-video films. So popular that they were sometimes filming 25 spots a day. 25 fucking commercials a day. Jim Varney, who was also Shakespearean trained, apparently had a photographic memory and only had to read the script once, and then he just changed the products when needed to take out Coke and put in Pepsi, for an example. But by the time they got to do Ernest Goes to Camp, the first feature film with Disney, Ernest would have already been featured in 2,600 advertisements in 140 different markets in just 7 years.
Jesus.
2,600 commercials in 7 years. That's impressive.
That goes beyond impressive. That's magical right there. That's the unicorn. Also, God bless, it's usually the classically trained actors that are known for things that have nothing to do with the classics.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it though.
But yeah, so he was already this pop culture phenomenon without any national recognition, there was no internet or anything like that. But just because he was in so many markets, kids were imitating his, you know what I mean? That type of stuff without realizing or without knowing that he was everywhere. Like, some bitch sold everything. Also, what was it? Most of Ernest's commercials were released on VHS tapes and DVDs from Disney's Touchstone Pictures and Hollywood Pictures. So they were so popular, and so many of them, they released just his commercials in different volumes, and they sold quite well in the 80s and early 90s. So there is my history lesson for anyone who has never seen an Ernest movie and wonders why in the hell did they make a movie about this guy?
Because literally in 30 seconds, he could create such a character that it stuck with people. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I started to remember. It wasn't just Ernest. I'll get to that in a minute. So now we do the little thing. So November 11th, 1988, Ernest is released. Forget music and TV. Remember Christmas Catalogues came out around November from Sears, Consumers. They were awesome. I really miss that. Amazon tried doing that this year. They sent out a toy catalog. Yeah. It was kind of cool. It was neat.
It was all right.
Not the same, but
not the same.
I remember wasting like a lot of time sitting there.
Oh, hours.
Going, yeah.
Because you had to do the go through just to see what's there first. Then you go back, and then you got to go through it again and figure out what are your top picks. Then you go back and you start all over, and you go looking for your like second picks, and you use a different colored pen.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the one I want the most.
Yeah.
Had stars and one. And everything.
You really highlighted that one. And then you were like, but if you can't get that, this, I can settle for this. And you marked something on like almost every single page.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, and it was a big deal when it came out. Because first your parents or your mom would look at it, and then you just like, can I see it?
Yeah.
Can I see it? Well,
I just want to look at the toys.
The big toys in 1988 were the Nintendo Entertainment System.
I had one.
Barbie. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I don't know if I think I got it around 1988.
We did. It was, I think, either just before. Like, we didn't get it right when
but it was
came
around
out.
this time.
Yeah.
No.
I was definitely playing Nintendo baseball at this point. Yes.
Yeah, because it came out like I think 85, and then no one had it for the first little bit, and then
we didn't have it for another like 2 or 3 years, and then we got it.
Yeah, and then we finally got it.
Yeah,
Barbie, which was always popular, but when I was looking at the Barbie, one of the commercials was when it first came out. Barbie was in the 50s or 60s, was made for 8 to 14-year-olds.
Yes.
Then around 1988, I watched an old commercial, and it was 4 to 12. Now it's down to 3 to 8. So it's dropping the kids. And then I remember I had a cousin who would play with Barbie, and I swear to God, she was 11, 12, something like that. But she was really into it. She had the old like 80s Winnebago, like yellowish brown. Did you?
Oh no, I didn't have, mine was pink.
Oh no, hers was.
So
like
I got the newer
brownish
one. I did want the Barbie dream house, but I never got it, so I had to build one with shoe boxes.
Yeah.
I only had one Ken doll, and most of my imagination play with my Barbies and my one Ken doll was based on soap operas. So Ken was a hoe. He was a big dirty hoe. But all of my Barbies were professionals. I had lawyers and doctors and novelists and a CEO. Ken was just a gigolo.
I'm sure your parents rolled their eyes when they walked by your door.
They were too busy working.
Micro Machines were big. Pictionary was huge that year. Real Ghostbusters action figures tied to the cartoon, not the movie. G.I. Joe was still popular. Win, Lose, or Draw, which I think around this time there was a really popular game show.
Yes.
Dolly Surprise.
Oh, I remember those.
But according to the internet, so it must be true, the most popular thing of Xmas 88 was Koosh Ball.
Who?
Exactly. What was a Koosh Ball?
I think the internet lied to you.
No, it was that ball with all the strings.
That thing. Is that what it was called?
That's what it was. I know what you're saying. What the fuck is a Koosh Ball? Yeah, it was that, but it was the ball with the long strings on it. You could throw it, squish it, dangle it on your face.
Everybody I knew had one. Everybody.
That's the thing. Yeah. It was cheap. Everyone, when I read this article, everyone could afford it. So everyone got a Koosh Ball. Like you might have been disappointed if you asked for a Nintendo and you got a
Koosh Ball. Yeah. I'd be a little pissed.
Like, yeah, really. Low. Thanks for losing your job right before Christmas, Dad. Fucking Koosh Ball.
Oh my God.
But I did get one. Yes. I don't know if it was in the stocking or it was but yeah.
I think I got one too. Because I remember throwing that thing around with my cousins.
Yeah, and you could throw it, and that was the point. It didn't hurt.
Yeah, but I think we almost broke something, and then my mother took them all away.
Yeah, I'm sure you got ridiculous. But it was cheap, and every kid wanted them. Apparently there was a comic book spinoff. I don't know what the fuck you would fill a whole comic book about the adventures of a koosh ball. I have no freaking clue, but yeah, it was popular in 88. All right. But also it was Ernest Saves Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
What do you remember about Ernest Saves Christmas?
Now, I could be very wrong, but I remember a lot of like slapstick humor. Like a little bit like cruder humor, like fart humor.
Yeah.
Like Three that Stooges. Kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like it was a spirit of Christmas. Like it was a heartwarming, like if I'm remembering correctly. I remember liking it. And I think I may have seen it multiple times because we had it on VHS.
Did you?
So we rented it, my friends.
You rented it or you bought it?
No, we rented it.
Okay.
But yeah, I think we must have seen it like the year after. I don't know why, because every once in a while my family goes through these moods where we decide we're a super Christmassy family. And so we do extra Christmas things. This was one of the extra Christmas things where we were like, let's rent a bunch of like Christmas movies and watch them. So I watched it a couple times that weekend, but I literally have not seen it since.
Yeah.
Because what I remember from it just didn't appeal to me anymore. Because I remember it being kind of lowbrow slapstick humor, but like heartwarming. You know?
Yeah. Like I saw Ernest Goes to Camp on some kid channel, Disney Channel or something like that. And I remember it being hilarious. And so I'm almost positive. I think I went and saw Ernest Saves Christmas in the theater. I can't remember who took me, but I recall being in the theater watching it. I remember me and my brother were there. I just can't remember who took me. Could have been a stranger for all I know.
Yeah, see, I didn't really go to the movies that often unless I had to be a cover story for my friend so she could make out with her boyfriend. Because one of us had to watch the movie. And then when I started working, when I could pay for my own movie tickets, that's about it. So I can tell you what happened with What's Eating Gilbert Grape.
Through the sounds of your friend making out.
Yeah, pretty much. It was just a lot of like, just don't look to your left. It's fine. Keep looking at the screen.
I probably watched it on TV a couple more times after that over the years, but I have not seen this movie since it would be like early 90s. I remember liking it. I remember liking Ernest, and I kind of remember him being more characters than just Ernest in all his movies. I think he started that.
When Eddie Murphy did it with The Nutty Professor?
Yeah. Which was way after this.
Yeah. I was like, I've seen this before.
Yeah. I remember it was a great Christmas movie. Maybe it wasn't as good as I remember because, like you said, it just, you got older and that just wasn't important to you, or that wasn't your type of thing anymore. But this character was a pop culture icon before even having a movie, before national recognition, without internet, just by doing these commercials. And every now and again, someone comes along and just grabs your attention, like Pauly Shore, Pee Wee Herman, Cheech and Chong, Bob and Doug. Larry the Cable Guy was probably the closest.
Oh my God.
Super Dave Osborne.
Oh shit, I remember Super Dave.
But Ernest P. Worrell was no different. Like, he even had a kid show, Hey Vern, It's Ernest.
Oh, I had no idea about the kid show.
Yeah, it only lasted one season, but he won some sort of TV award for being
probably an Emmy.
But I guess I only did the one. And I think Ernest Stupid was the last Ernest movie I watched. And like you said, I was getting older, and I guess it wasn't cool to watch.
Well, I think, if I'm not mistaken, his popularity as Ernest started waning when the internet started. Like when people started having more access to the internet, it was easier to get more content for things. You had more access. Yeah. People were downloading movies. True, it would take you 3 days, but you were downloading movies that, and or you were downloading music that would only take a day.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, we were getting new information from new sources. So I think it kind of eclipsed his, homegrown next door neighbor, kind of silly but sweethearted kind of persona.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, like I do remember years later, like going into a Blockbuster and looking at movies, and not everything I wanted to rent that at that moment was there.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw Ernest Goes to Africa or Ernest Goes to School and kind of thinking, maybe it'll be fun. But how could I take a copy of the Ernest DVD to the hot Blockbuster employee? She definitely would not sleep with me then if I brought up an Ernest
but did she
movie.
sleep with you at all?
No.
Then you should have risked it. Maybe I brought up Ernest.
I even thought of a few stories as to why I needed an Ernest movie. Like I was getting it for my younger brother who was mentally handicapped. I had to watch it with him because
you're terrible.
I know.
You're terrible. Yeah. No, Ernest was one of those movies where you're like, oh, like you have fond memories and you think, I remember laughing at that. And then you're just kind of, well, for me at least, I was like, oh, but never mind. Let's go watch Die Hard.
I'll be honest, I can't wait to watch this movie.
I kind of, because it was so fun. Because, okay, for me, Ernest was a cultural phenomenon, like a pulp culture phenomenon across North America and across the world. Like, he went international with his popularity. He wasn't just a North American star. And it's so weird to me because I remember watching it. I remember thinking it was funny. We've all said things. How many times have I said, hey, Vern? And my friends are like, what? Especially the young people. I'm like, you don't know about Vern? Never mind. But I mean, how much did that kind of like the unseen neighbor? We saw it on Home Improvement with Tim Allen. Yeah. It became a gag. So like how much of our television and movie experience came from Ernest? Yeah. Without even realizing it. So I was like, I want to see it mostly for that. But also I remember liking this movie. Yep. I can't remember anything about this movie. Except Ernest is in it. But I remember liking it. I remember
and Santa Claus is in it. I know that.
See, already you're a step ahead of me. Because I'm like, I remember laughing.
And I think that's why you stop watching certain types of movies or rewatching movies. Like, not you're embarrassed, but I think you're an adult now, and when you're an adult, you don't watch like My Little Pony anymore. Stuff like that.
Have you seen My Little Pony lately?
I've got all girls, and they love My Little Pony. Oh, My Little Pony. Yeah, I watched My Little Pony.
It's funny. I am friends with someone who just voiced one of the ponies on the newest series.
Oh, so cool. I was like,
oh. I can't really talk about it, but I worked on that. I worked on that show for like a brief hot second. I helped out on it.
The one that was like 80 friggin' seasons long?
No, the newest one that they just...
Oh, the newest one. Okay.
The newest one, yeah.
For the I haven't seen the newest one yet. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, where is it here? We go to the tail of the tape. I will bring up the poster. And can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like an Ernest poster. For people that are listening, it's Ernest Saves Christmas, a big Christmas tree with Ernest hanging with his face, with mouth dropping. He's scared, and Santa Claus is in the background flying across the moon.
Yeah, that's an Ernest poster.
Yeah. The taglines for Ernest were, he's back, and this time, Ernest Saves Christmas. So this was the second movie, I believe. And it's a holiday comedy unlike any other. It's released, it opened in second place with 5.7 million behind Child's Play. So Child's Play was the bigger holiday movie. But it did open ahead of Iron Eagle too. So that's That's old. Friggin' Child's Play 1 and Iron Eagle 2.
That's wow.
It would go on to make just over 28 million, but on a 6 million budget. And
that's not bad.
they apparently just put out a fairly moderate marketing campaign. So it made a lot of profit, and that's why Disney made 4 of these. But it did not open in first. So the reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, it sits at 36%. Score 25,000 plus ratings, which is not very high, 42%. So that's not good.
It's not good, but I mean, sometimes
A
people
lot
are
of
terrible,
times. Yeah.
and they're expecting Shakespeare, but they get Ernest, and then they get mad.
This is a PG rated family movie. Like, it's got 12,000 ratings on IMDb, and it's at 5.6. Again, it's low, but I have a feeling if you don't like Ernest, like, why would you even bother? So I'm going to play the trailer. I'm going to do it on YouTube here.
In the past, there have been many traditional ways to celebrate Christmas. With songs, with gifts, with family and friends. There's a new way. Ho, 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 Vern. With Ernest. Ernest P. Worrell. He's back.
Know what I mean?
Back to save Santa.
Santa's in the slammer. Look at those beady, twinkling eyes.
Back to save Christmas. Back to save faith.
You're dead meat.
That's life for you. Isn't she a doll?
Ernest P. Worrell.
Mr. Fungi.
In the mission they said couldn't be done.
On Comet, on Cupid, on Donder.
In the movie they said shouldn't be done.
Soapy, scruffy, blister.
You guys say you have a problem with reindeer?
Trim the tree. Light the candles. Deck the halls. And hit the deck. Because Ernest P. Worrell's coming to town. And he's coming
With colorful colors and festively wrapped packages. Air brakes.
Ernest Saves Christmas.
It definitely feels like, just the trailer itself, I'm like, this feels like it's just one long commercial.
Yeah. So what do you think? Do you think you're going to like it, or did the trailer kind of...
I feel like I'm going to hate it. I don't want to, though. Does that count? I don't want to hate it. I want to love it because I want to bring a Christmas comedy into my Christmas rotation.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, after seeing that, like I when I was doing this, getting ready for this, I think I was going to like it, but like it never made my Christmas watch movies. It was never there with like Christmas Vacation, the Santa Claus, Home Alone, Scrooge, Christmas Story. So it is.
A Muppet Christmas Carol.
Christmas Carol, yeah. The Muppet Christmas Carol.
Muppet Christmas Carol specifically. Every year it must be done.
I don't know. Is it because I forgot about it, or it really wasn't as good as
I will even venture as saying it's not as available, because the same Christmas movies end up getting aired every year. The same Christmas movies end up getting put out when we were younger in the video store, like up front.
Yeah.
There were the ones that they knew were high rotation.
Yeah.
So they kept them at eye level. They kept them. So those were the ones you kind of gravitated towards. The same ones that they played. Like, there's a reason why I watch White Christmas every year.
Yeah.
There's a reason why I watch, well, I have to go searching for Holiday Inn, but because they always air it at like
that's
1
a sequel,
o'clock in
right?
the morning. No, Holiday Inn is the movie where the song White Christmas first debuted. It came before White Christmas.
Oh yeah, right. Okay.
White Christmas is kind of like the reboot of Holiday Inn, only less racist. Weird, I know, but the Holiday Inn was mad racist. But Ernest was never like, I think it would air occasionally on like CBC around the holidays, but it would be like, here you go. But now we're going to play, Miracle on 34th Street, all the incarnations of it. So I think it just became less and less available. And honestly, I forgot Ernest made movies.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, it wasn't until I started looking up Christmas movies that Ernest popped up.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, holy shit, Ernest. Like, he was everywhere for a while during our childhood. Absolutely everywhere. And then he just like, I know he died, but like, he disappeared before he died.
Yeah. Well, I guess we are going to go and watch it, and I guess we'll find.
You sound so excited about that.
Like, I was very excited at the beginning, and then it got less exciting. But no, I'm still excited. It's a Christmas movie, so
yeah. I will go on the record as saying I really, really want to like this. I do.
Yes, I would like to like it too. I think I probably might. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
I mean,
all right. Exactly. Of all the movies we could have picked.
You heard them. Movie time. Let's all go to the lobby and get ourselves a treat, and then watch a classic kick-ass movie from whenever the one we're about to watch was made.
Okay, well, that was something. Talk about Ernest. Okay, so we welcome everyone back. I don't know if people went and watched it or had already watched it or are currently dying with anticipation for our overall consensus to help to decide whether or not you should
they want to
run and add this to your Christmas playlist. What's your initial thoughts?
It wasn't as cringy as I thought it would be.
No,
like
no,
overall, I was like, I could watch this. Like, it's not super dated. It's okay. It's dated in that, nobody's calling an Uber. Ernest is in a cab.
Yeah.
There are certain things that you're like, obviously this took place in the late 80s, early 90s. Like,
but it didn't seem that old. They never did anything that seemed ancient.
They never, exactly. It's not like we were watching War Games where like, he's on a Commodore 64.
We should watch that movie.
It has been years since I've seen that. Yeah. It's been like 5 or 6 years at least.
Oh, it's been a lot longer than that for that to be.
Oh,
I saw. Yeah, I watched a preview of it, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah, man. Anyways, like that's not the point.
Yeah, we're getting sidetracked here.
Let's not go too far on that tangent, because there are so many more tangents to go on. But yeah, no, I was like, it's not as cringy. Like, it's not super dated. It's not like there's nothing super offensive about it.
No,
which is weird. I was like, this is pleasant.
My initial thoughts, not a score, just by, I didn't love it. I didn't hate it.
Mm-hmm.
I had a bad feeling that I was going to go in and be like, what the fuck? And it wasn't that at all. And like I said, our new thing is pros and cons. So let's quickly start with the pros about this movie, even if you hated it.
Well, thankfully, I didn't hate it, which also surprised me. No, it was one of the pros. It is very, very sweet and family friendly. I was like, there's so many life lessons to learn in this, and it's not preachy. But I was like, it's cute. It's a cute, light, family friendly movie.
Yeah.
That's a serious pro for it.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to find now.
Yeah, my pros were, one, it's a Christmas movie.
Well,
2,
yes.
It's not the worst Christmas movie.
Also, yes.
And it makes the best of a small budget. And Jim Varney, I knew he's a lot more talented than I remembered.
Yes.
And it does. And one of the things I wrote down was that it has some genuine Christmas spirit.
Mm-hmm. It does. It's a very, very sweet, like endearing movie.
I was really preparing for that slapstick Three Stooges type
I remember
of thing.
It being way more, like, it is still a movie filled with gags, of course, but I expected it to be way more over the top.
And I thought it was going to get very old very quick, to be honest. Yeah.
I thought it was just going to be like a series of gags in a row. And then I was like, oh, they're developing a story in here. And there's character development. And this is, I wasn't expecting this.
Cons. Right off the bat, cons.
The makeup department. Because I have never seen so many actors fucking sweat through an entire movie in my entire life.
And I think that had a lot to do with Florida, and they couldn't, and I think it was hot when they shot this movie.
I believe that, but there were times where they would cut and it was obviously a new shot.
They cleaned it up, yeah.
So sometimes it would be like they'd be sweating and then they'd be clean, and then you'd start to see little patches of sweat. And I'm like, I can tell you right now that these were all in different spots on the call sheet.
Yeah.
Because this is completely inconsistent. And God bless. That was one of the things that drove me nuts, because I'm like, wow, Ernest is sweating a lot. Wow, Santa's sweating a lot. Wow, the warehouse guy? Ooh, I was concerned.
Yeah, he sweated a lot. I was going to have a stroke.
His hair was like wet and drip. I was worried. But yeah, it was so distracting. It was so distracting, because I spent every scene where there was any kind of close up on someone's face just being like, why are you sweating?
Yeah.
Like, it's also supposed to be December in Florida. So while it's hot, it's not that hot. So it was all very, I was like, that was probably my biggest complaint about this entire movie.
Well, my cons were, it's a Christmas movie. Yes. It had a small budget, and it did a lot of times show. But I mean, okay, well, we'll get into this, because we're going to go through the synopsis. FYI, out of all the movies we've done so far, Ernest Saves Christmas has the most detailed plot outline than any other movie we've done.
It's probably because someone is like, read the plot outline, don't watch the movie.
Oh, yeah, but it wasn't even that, and it was very detailed, which is great.
Yeah, no, I like details.
So, okay, so we start with a man claiming to be Santa Claus arrives in Orlando, Florida, where Ernest P. Worrell is working as a taxi cab driver, and Ernest picks up Santa. Now, first, before even that happens, that whole credit opening was awesome. I have seen all those Santa scenes on some sort of Christmas plate.
Yes.
Yeah, through my life.
Or Christmas cards.
Yeah, or Christmas card. Yeah.
Yep.
2 minutes with Ernest driving the taxi pretty much sums up the whole vibe of the show. And
yes.
Yeah, you know what you're going to be watching for the next hour.
Although I will say that poor passenger, that was probably the scene that I laughed at the most, to him just sliding back and forth. And I was like, and his face.
Yeah.
And this
was good.
Made sense it was a great scene. It was really funny. I laughed. I was like, this is okay, great. Like, I'm not mad at this. Let's go. Also, the Toronto shout out right off the top. Thank you, Santa and the businessman having a conversation. He says he's from Toronto.
Oh, from Toronto. Yep. A little lax at the airport security.
Yes.
Explains a lot.
Florida.
And as the security looks around, when he says, I'm Santa, and he looks around, every immigrant stereotype.
Yes.
Like, this movie was so 80s and so white.
Oh, God, yeah. But it's funny because it's even, like, this is one thing I will give them. It was all the people you see at airports. Because when it finishes off on the Hare Krishnas, I was like, guys, come on.
So Ernest is driving Santa, who tells him he's on the way to inform local celebrity named Joe Carruthers that he has been chosen to be the new Santa Claus. Joe hosts a long-running local children's program with emphasis on manners and integrity, which Ernest remembers fondly. So it sets up the basic blueprint. Old Santa retiring, new guy needs to replace him, new guy doesn't believe. Hilarious shenanigans are going to follow. Like you said, it actually develops. There's a story here. It's a simple story, but it's also kids' movies, and it's
also a story that actually develops.
Yeah,
and like there's character growth through it. And I was like, "Hello, left field. Where did you come from? What?"
While they are driving, a runaway teenage girl who says she is named Harmony Star joins Ernest and Santa in the taxi cab. This was actually one of my favorite scenes when she's wary about who she just got in the car with, and the old guy introduces himself as Santa, and she looks at Ernest, and like she's like looking at him like, is this old guy kidding? But Ernest is like, the look on his face, he's so stoked, and he's like, surprised, but with a question mark. Oh, like she just won the lottery. That actually made me laugh out loud.
I love that Ernest is just like, hell's yeah, you're Santa Claus.
No two questions, none.
Like nothing. He's just like, of course. Let's roll. This is great. Let's do this. I'm like, oh, Ernest. God bless.
Where are we here? When they get to their destination, Santa possesses no legal currency, only with the play money. Ernest lets him ride for free, which gets Ernest fired from his job. The runaway is still hanging out with Ernest, which is weird, but integral to the plot.
Yeah, that was a weird one for someone who's so street smart. I'm sure she was sitting there going, this guy really believes this other guy's Santa Claus. I think I'm safe with him.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
The one thing is a point of contention for me that they made Santa Claus doddering and like befuddled. When you mentioned the money thing, like he's like, oh, it's fun time. Oh no, I must have left the real money in the gift. And I'm like, this is Santa Claus, okay? He delivers billions of gifts in one night with magic. You're telling me he can't tell the difference between like US currency and Mr. Funtime money?
But he did say that he never really has any use for it. And then later he does, here I am defending this movie. He does say that he can't be Santa when he's arguing. He can't be Santa anymore because I think he actually says like, I'm giving away money. I have to write down notes. He was like, I can't do it anymore.
He says he can't do the thing anymore. But I mean, they really made him almost feel very like too far gone, you know?
Yeah.
Like not just, it's a lot of work. I'm old. I don't want to do this anymore. It was very much like, I can't remember where I put my shoes. Like that kind of, I was like, you've taken it a step too far.
Yeah. Like,
because now I feel bad for him. And now I feel like people are taking advantage of him and it hurts my heart.
Ernest discovers that Santa left his magic sack in the taxi cab, and Ernest begins a quest to find the old man and return it to him. At the Orlando Children's Museum, Santa tries talking to Joe, but is interrupted and rebuffed by Joe's rude agent, Marty Brock. I did recognize a lot of faces in this movie.
Yes, me too.
Yeah, like
actually,
I don't.
The runaway, I was like, I know her face.
She's been in a ton of stuff.
And then I was like, oh my God, you play that girl in 90210. When I looked her up, and I was like, I hated you. Anyways.
The agent, the director, old lady at the museum. There was quite a few. The guy who plays Santa, even the guy who was replacing Santa, looked very familiar.
I was listening to him and I was like, you sound so familiar.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's done multiple episodes of Murder, She Wrote. Just like,
oh, probably. Yeah. You know, on Murder, She Wrote, I know we're getting off track again, but on Murder, She Wrote, I have seen certain actors play 2, sometimes 3 different roles.
Yes. But here's something about Angela Lansbury. I don't know if you know this, because I didn't know this.
She's dead.
Apparently, well, no, I knew that. And I'm sure you knew that. Everybody talked about it for like 30 seconds.
I love Murder, She Wrote.
Murder, She Wrote is one of my favorite shows of all time. I'm going to throw that out there.
I love that show.
And I actually have an idea for like kind of a sequel episode, like show. But anyways, that's
starring you.
Amen. I wouldn't say no. It would be
Please
really
let
good.
me be on there as one of the guys killed.
It would still take place in Cabot Cove, and only now it's even better because Angela Lansbury is dead. So then
probably not as much
inherits the house.
Oh, there you go.
Right?
Yeah,
and then everybody starts dying like they did with her great aunt.
Swear to God, Angela Lansbury was the murderer. They should do a movie like that.
Well, My question is, why did nobody just say, you know what? I'm having an anniversary, my 25th wedding anniversary party. Jessica, why don't you stay home?
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't want anybody to die.
No.
But whatever. It's fine. It's fine. No. But apparently Angela Lansbury would hire all of the older actors that were in SAG so that she would hire them enough so they could qualify for insurance and other assistance programs that SAG had. So she would purposely hire them so that they could hold on to their status in the union. Just thought I'd share that because, yay, Queen Angela Lansbury.
Because Angela Lansbury wasn't loved enough.
Right? I also heard she was a bit of a hoe when she was younger. I'm just saying.
Huh?
Yeah. No, literally. Like, I heard she let her freak flag fly.
Huh.
I'm just saying.
We went
be a
different way
off.
of watching bedrooms and what is it? Bed knobs and broomsticks.
Yeah. I'm saying.
With that information.
She had great legs though. Like,
yeah, she did actually.
Watch her when she was super young.
Bed knobs and broomsticks was the 60s. And if you watch it, it's Angela Lansbury, but it's not 80s Murder, She Wrote. It's like 30 years earlier.
She was a hottie, yo.
Yeah.
Anyways, now we're way off.
This is a whole different weird podcast. Definitely a different niche.
Okay, sorry. We're back to Ernest. Right. Yes.
Okay, so Santa begins to worry when he discovers his sack is missing and becomes discouraged because of his increasing forgetfulness as a result of being 151 years old. Santa tries to explain his predicament, but Marty refuses to believe him and help him and has him arrested. I don't know the legal grounds for which he had him arrested, but it is Florida, so I guess. I don't think anything hold you for being old and thinking you're Santa.
Well, okay, and here they can't technically they can hold you, but then they transfer you to like a hospital.
A hospital, yeah.
For a 72-hour psych hold. What I had an issue with is that they arrest him. They're like, oh yeah, Santa Claus. He has little snowflakes in his fingerprints.
Yeah.
They're like, isn't that pretty? But nobody does anything about it.
Yeah, the guy actually says, well, I haven't seen this before.
Yeah. And then they put him in prison, not jail, not a holding cell, in prison.
Yeah. And that was one of my next notes, at like a very overcrowded prison cell. Like there had to be 20 some odd guys in that cell.
Like, don't get me wrong, it made for a great choir, but at the same time, I was like, what? That was a reality leap. That I was like, we'll take it for the story, but...
And that actually was my next note, the whole Santa conducting the choir of the prisoners singing, and those hands coming out, that hallway with all the cells and the hands coming out and clapping. I mean, could it be any more 80s?
So 80s. I loved it, though.
Yeah, it was good.
I loved it because I was like, that's so sweet.
Oh, okay. Where are we? I also question. Oh, yeah. That's when we got, which kind of set up Ernest going in his first disguise to get him out of jail and put into a mental institute. But I also question all the adults in that scene dragging a teenage girl in a schoolgirl skirt and twirling her hair and talking and like that. Like the way she talked into a cell of like 20 some odd criminals.
Look, I'm not saying
it's a little
that
odd.
I thought Ernest was going to take a dirty turn at that point, but I was like, I've seen this porn before.
Okay, I'm glad you said it because I couldn't say it because I just would, if you were like,
no, because you're the dirty old man at that point.
Yeah, I'm the dirty old man. So I'm glad you said it first.
I'm the progressive woman who's seen the porn.
Even her voice when she was talking, I was like, whoa, this is a different.
Because I had a moment of like, is Ernest trying to use the teenager in a schoolgirl's uniform to seduce the cop?
Yeah.
And I because she's literally chewing gum and the way she's and I was like
girly, like really girly.
Yeah, the
voice.
high pitched like, and I was like, this is.
I'm sure there were some porn stars back in the 80s that were going, that's our director going, that's what I want. Look.
Oh, I'm sure it already, like, I don't know who.
Or that's where they got it from.
I don't know how much of it was in the original script and how much of it was just the director's idea. If it was the director's idea, have we investigated this director? possibly being a predator. I was like,
but you see nothing else after this, so it makes me think that they like, oh no, lower your voice because you're a young student, da da da. And I don't know if it came across but there had to be some assistant or some executive going, am I the only one?
Well, I don't know if it was just a bunch of people being like, just shut up and keep your job.
Yeah, it could have been.
Or if it was like nobody blinked an eye and was just like, this is kind of hot and didn't think about it. Because at that point, she would have, like the actress herself would have been 18.
Yes.
So then everybody on set would have felt just fine objectifying her because there is this weird idea that once you hit 18, you're a full grown person and you're not. Yeah. And I'm like, that's creepy on its own, but that's a whole nother discussion. But what are they going to say? She's an adult? But I think because the scene starts to feel like she's trying to seduce people.
Yeah.
But they never follow through with the seduction. They're just like, no, that's just how schoolgirls act. And I'm like, no, that's how the fantasy of a schoolgirl acts.
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, I went to an all-girls Catholic school. None of us were like that. No. None of us.
And then all the grips had to go to the bathroom.
Yep.
It's like, where are all my grips?
They took lunch directly after that.
Yeah, we're going to have lunch now. Don't come in the bathroom. Sickos.
Union rep on set. It's just like, no, man, we got to break now. We got to break now. Yeah, okay. No, that was a weird scene.
Okay. I'm glad it was just me because I'm watching it going, okay, maybe it's just me, but I don't think so. I'm glad you brought it up first.
I felt really uncomfortable for a hot second. And then when they didn't follow through with like what the porn script usually is, I was like, oh, okay, I feel better about this now. That was just a bad direction choice.
Yeah. Okay. So Santa explains to Ernest and Harmony that he was handed down the job of Santa to get him out. Mm-hmm. And actually, aside from that, that's the first character that Ernest plays, and he plays it perfectly. Like he plays that over the top, smarmy, snaky government city employee.
Love it.
Yeah.
Tell me how to run my... Hello, I'm Chief Spanks. How can I help you?
Clement here, Asta Clement. I'm with the Governor's State Correctional Institutional Prisoner Fair Treatment Task Force. And this is the Governor's niece, Mindy.
Explains that he was handed down the job of Santa Claus in 1889 and has enjoyed it ever since, but the magic grows weaker over time. The only way to restore it is to full strength is to pass on to someone else, which is why he must find Joe and make him the new Santa Claus by 7 p.m. They even worked the time zones into the story, which was funny. Mm-hmm. So first, Ernest has to find where Joe is. So he dresses up as the old lady and goes to the agent's office. This whole scene is amazing. Mm-hmm. This was one of my favorite scenes. Just him as the old lady, the old mother going up the stairs, and he's like,
these steps might as well be Mount Everest.
And then she's like, where's my son?
Where is he? Where is Martin? I need him to help me with my will. Having walked from the airport, I'll be dead soon.
I would watch a sitcom with his characters. Like, you wouldn't want her for the whole half hour, but
no,
like a Kramer in and out and stuff like that. It just showed how fucking talented he was. Ernest disguised himself as a snake rancher so he can sneak Santa into the movie studio.
Is this where the horror movie folk be? What? I got a truckload of snakes for them horror movie folk.
It was silly, but again, the difference between all the characters, and that's that Shakespearean train, that overemphasizing, and that, it was funny. It was kid funny.
I will give this to Jim Varney. An incredible character actor. Like, he commits to his characters.
And that's one of my things was like, he gives 100% and it all works for the silliness of what he's doing for.
Yeah. It's never Ernest being, the old lady, or Ernest being, this is a whole new person.
A whole new character. Yeah. It's not Ernest pretending. He brings his characters that he makes are smarter than Ernest actually is. And that's what kind of makes it funny. I'm not saying the movie's a masterpiece, but
no,
I'm not saying.
But it's not a piece of shit either.
No, and I think people, well, I forget, these are kids' movies, but Jim Varney was a talented motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
Marty presses Joe to quit his children's job and instead lands a part in a horror film titled Christmas Sleigh, about an alien which terrorizes children on Christmas Eve, a concept that offends Santa so deeply he pushes director. On a side note, can I just say the actor who played the monster, remember the monster, and he was waiting and took off his mask? Oh my God, what a wonderful mustache that guy had.
It was impressive.
Like, it might have been 1988, but that stash was a 70s masterpiece.
It really was.
Like Burt Reynolds, Sam Elliott, Tom Selleck. It was a great, I remember I'm sitting there and I'm like, that's a great mustache. Oh.
Funnily enough, I looked at it and I said, that's a porn stash.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Meanwhile, all these events are taking place, and they get to the two holding dock workers receive several large crates marked the release to helper elves. They were in it throughout the movie, and I was going to say something earlier, but I just followed the plot because I love these guys. They were friggin' funny.
I'd say hold for pickup by, what is that, M?
D.
No, right here. That's an M.
D.
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 The main guy, the fat guy.
Yeah.
Can I say fat?
Yes.
Did I just get canceled?
No, you did not get canceled.
And
it's just a descriptor. It's just like calling someone tall. It's just like calling someone short. It's a descriptor.
Because I'm not overly thin.
Neither am I.
But he's been in a ton of movies.
Mm-hmm.
I think my limited research showed he retired a few years ago, but the scenes with these two guys were actually pretty funny.
Honestly, it reminded me a lot of Abbott and Costello.
Yes. That old Laurel Hardy, Abbott Costello. Yeah. Just a silly, easy humor. But it's funny.
It was good. It was funny.
Yeah. The two dock workers argue over the shipping papers and the contents of the crates. The crates are revealed to contain flying reindeer. The dock workers seek help from the local animal control services, only to be told that there's nothing animal control to do to help them. But they arrive and are shocked to see reindeer walking on the ceiling.
That was the best part, though. Oh, they're flying reindeer. Oh no, flying reindeer. We don't do that. We don't do. That's someone else. That's not us.
Now, Santa later tracks down Joe at his home. He explains about passing the position of Santa Claus over to him because otherwise the magic will eventually die. Santa also explains that from Orlando, Joe must leave to deliver the presents by 7 p.m. If he leaves any later, he will run into daylight before he finishes. I don't know what that has to do. Like, does he burst into flames or... But anyway,
it's a magic thing.
Yeah. Joe declines, but later is overcome by conscience when the film director wants him to use foul language, which he refuses to say in front of children on the set. Meanwhile, Ernest and Harmony, whose real name is later revealed by Santa to be Pamela Trenton, discovers the magic power of Santa's sack, and Pamela starts to abuse it. She steals the sack and attempts to run away again. Did you catch the My Pet Monster?
Yes.
I'm glad you did.
Yes, I did.
I wonder if she'll remember My Pet Monster.
I made a note about that because I was like as soon as she shot, I was like, that's My Pet Monster. I wanted one of those. I used to watch the show.
My brother watched that show and he didn't get it one year, and he was so upset. I think he got a pound puppy instead or something. I don't know. I can't remember.
Yo, I love the pound puppies, though. I didn't get one, but my cousin did. He loved that little fucker. Literally took it everywhere with him. It was like a little excessive.
Yeah, my brother actually believed his stuffed animals were alive. He had Care Bears and stuff. So when he really pissed me off, I would grab them and start punching them. And he would cry.
I used to have.
Then I would get a smack in the back of the head, but it was worth it.
I'd give you a smack for that. I used to have nightmares. This is why I had to give away my Alf doll, because I had used to have nightmares. I loved my Alf doll, loved it, and then I started having nightmares that Alf was coming alive at night and was attacking me and trying to eat me. So then I had to give away my Alf doll. And it was a Christmas present, so I feel like this is a tangent that's kind of attached to this. Also, I'd like to point out that for an Ernest movie, we're talking a lot about porn. Go on.
Exactly. Okay, so However, on Christmas Eve, her conscience prevails and she rushes back to find Ernest and Santa and return the sack. A couple of scenes tugged a bit, like when Santa reveals her name and talks about her bad situation with her mom, the kids at the train station. I mean, I don't think any of them should have been reason to nominate the movie for her or anyone for an Oscar or anything, but it pushed a couple of the right buttons for a Christmas movie. That's all I'm saying.
It pulls on the heartstrings a little bit.
I'm not saying I cried.
No, you're not saying that?
No. But it did hit a lot of good notes.
It did. And that was the part that really, I think, hammered it home for me. Like, especially like this, probably the last third of the movie, where I'm just kind of like watching it and I was like, oh, now you're like hitting all the soft spots in my heart.
Yeah.
Like, this is where like all of like Joe comes to his realization that, you know, he wants to make kids happy, not be in a movie that, you know, is about murdering people at Christmas by an alien. And, you know, Harmony comes to her realize that she is screwing up Christmas for a bunch of other kids for her own selfish gains, and she can't do that. So she goes off to find Santa. Santa meets a hottie.
Yep.
Has a nice little conversation, comes to terms with the fact that he's not going to be Santa no more, goes out on a date. Good for him.
Yeah.
You know, Ernest helps everybody come together. Gets the sleigh and the reindeer, and he's like, we're going to make this happen. And there was a lot of like, you know, let's find the good in Christmas. Let's find like the Christmas spirit was found in this movie.
It's like Santa, what did he say? He was like, Ernest, what a good boy he was. Not the brightest child.
God bless.
Oh, but all right.
Good heart.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Just good heart. This whole movie has a good heart. It's sweet.
Yeah. Ernest meets Santa's elves at the airport, and they retrieve the reindeer from the dock workers and Santa's sleigh from the holding dock. Because they are short on time, no pun intended, Ernest decides to fly the sleigh to the Children's Museum. Much to the helper's objection, having trouble controlling it at first, the reindeer and the sleigh fly all over the sky. At a meeting, Joe sees the reindeer and sleigh flying and is convinced him that everything Santa told him is real. Joe turns down the acting job and leaves to find Santa. Now, this is where I really applaud the director and the crew. They had a small budget, so not a lot of money for effects. They obviously paid for some decent actors, so they would have had even less money. They shot it close and tight with the philosophy of less is more. And it wasn't spectacular, I think, but it did work.
Yeah. You could suspend your disbelief.
Yes.
With the way they shot it.
Yeah.
Would it make you believe? No.
But
for a while there, it wasn't like glaring that they weren't flying around or they weren't. You were just like, you were still in the story.
Yeah. Yeah. And it could have been so much worse. It could have been a director that tried to make it something it couldn't be. And this director, he knew their limitations. And yeah, I was really impressed with it. Plus the I need oxygen, and Ernest throws the reins in favor of the oxygen. It was actually kind of funny. Joe finds Santa and they made a big deal of showing this, at 6:57 p.m. to when Ernest arrives just before 7. That was the longest fucking 3 minutes.
Air brakes.
Between when he arrives at 6:57 and Ernest finally gets there was still 15 minutes of on screen. Like that was stretching it.
That's how time works on movie clocks.
Oh my God, that was horrible.
Do you know how many times I've been watching something where I'm like, I thought you only had 5 minutes left.
Yeah.
We've been going for 25. Sir, this is 25 minutes.
Yeah.
5. Come on.
We'll chalk this one up to a Christmas miracle, I guess. The old Santa resumes his former identity, Seth Applegate, and spends Christmas Eve with an elderly museum employee named Mary Morrissey. The new Santa takes off at 7 p.m. to deliver the gifts, and then he allows Ernest to join and the girl to join, and that's it. The ending scene shows the two holding dock workers receiving a large crate with shipping papers marked E-Bunny, and then arguing over the spelling again, and then 2 large rabbit ears burst through the top. So why did you like it then?
I think I liked it then because it made me laugh, because at that point, like it was a very, like, rewatching it, I could see the childlike humor in it. So I was like, okay, I get it why I liked it as a kid. Because as a kid, I would have thought this shit was hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember laughing so much. So back then, that it was the slapstick, the physical humor, because I wouldn't have gotten most of the verbal jokes. No. But Ernest making faces. Always a classic. I don't care who you are. It's funny forever.
Yeah. And like, why did I like it then? Well, probably because my father was right. I was a moron. And obviously, like, I liked watching moronic things on. No, the slapstick humor. The slapstick humor is Christmas. It was an Ernest movie and silly. I obviously watched Ernest Goes to Camp and I liked it. I remember that. Mm-hmm. So of course, when this came out, I wanted to see it. This is my theory too. Like in 1988, there wasn't hundreds of Christmas movies to choose from. As silly as that sounds, I mean, Christmas Vacation, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation wouldn't come out for another year. Home Alone was, the first one was 3 or 4 years away.
91 or 92?
Yeah. So it was 3 or 4 years. Elf with Will Ferrell, which is considered a Christmas classic, was 16 years away from opening in theaters. I don't know if that's more of an excuse or a reason people would have liked it, but.
Well, I think the culture around Christmas movies has changed, because I think for a long time we had such classic Christmas movies.
Yes.
People didn't really attempt them. So you'd see the occasional like Hallmark or Lifetime Christmas movie that was based on a true story about, someone who takes in orphans at Christmas or some shit like that. Whatever. Or there's like a blizzard somewhere or whatever.
Yeah.
So you'd see that occasional thing, but you wouldn't
not
see
30 a year.
Yeah, not 30. 30. That's a low ball.
Is it more? Is it really?
Literally, they're making hundreds between all the networks. Hundreds of Christmas movies are coming out.
Every year.
Every single year.
Jesus
and they have to keep producing them now.
Yeah, because now people are expecting them.
Because now people are expecting them, and channels are putting them on 24 hours a day. Like now we're saturated with Christmas.
Yeah.
But 20 years ago, you weren't saturated with Christmas.
No.
White Christmas, all the claymation Christmas things played on TV.
It's a Wonderful Life, Christmas Carol.
Miracle on 34th Street, White
Some
Christmas.
80s stuff.
This is what we had. The Christmas Story. This was what we had. So it was rare to get Christmas movies.
Yes.
Especially ones made for the big screen.
Yeah. And that was my point. Yeah, there was not hundreds and hundreds and hundreds to choose from like there was now. For people who remember liking this movie, what would you tell them?
You're going to age out of it a little bit. Like, I get why, 8 and 9-year-old me would have loved this. 42-year-old me is kind of like, it's sweet. It's nice. It's kind of funny, but it's not as funny.
Yeah.
So, expect to age out of it. It's not going to be, because I think there's so much, unless you really like, slapstick kind of stupid humor.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's kind of like, for people that remember like this movie, watch it again. If you remember liking Ernest, watch it again, but be in the mood for silly, cheap slapstick, very 80s looking. I mean, this looked like a made for TV movie by 1988 standards.
Yeah.
If you have some young kids who would probably laugh during those silly moments, that will definitely help.
Watch this with your young peoples in your life, your kids, nieces, nephews, your neighbors' kids, with permission with the parents. But if you watch it with kids, it's probably going to be more fun for you. Me watching it by myself, it's not as much fun because I laugh occasionally. But I mean, if there were some cute kids watching it with me and they were laughing, because I know they would, it's infectious, and it makes for a better experience.
Yeah.
Overall, though, it's a really sweet, endearing Christmas movie that's funny.
Yeah. What would you tell people that have not seen it?
It's a really sweet, endearing Christmas movie. It's funny. I don't think it's hilarious, but it's not a waste of your time to watch.
See, I said if you haven't seen it, don't. I mean, if you saw like Ernest Scared Stupid or Ernest Goes to Camp and you somehow missed this one, then yeah, go back and see it. If you're doing a paper on why people were so simple in the 80s, this could help, I guess. But if you don't know Ernest P. Worrell, this could be a tough pill to swallow.
This is a Christmas wrapping movie.
Yeah.
When you're wrapping presents at Christmas, this is the movie. When you're scrolling through Disney Plus, this is the movie you put on, because you're not missing any deep like plot points or character development moments or whatever. You're not missing anything if you're just listening to it. You'll laugh when you look up and you see someone fall over or Ernest playing another character or whatever, but it's not something that you're dying to watch.
No.
You know what?
Yeah, I get. Yeah, that makes sense. And if you haven't seen it and you have kids, yeah, roll the dice. They probably might like it. And like you said, it would probably be better watching it with children.
Mm-hmm.
Now, could this movie be made or rebooted and enjoyed today?
Yes and no. Yes, for the overall story, like Santa handing down the reins to another guy. Fantastic. You'd have to cut out literally half the story where they go running around looking for everybody because we all carry a computer in our hands.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's the only thing that's a little, but other than that, like, I think you could totally make an updated version of this. 100%. Yeah.
I was thinking, and this isn't disrespectful, but someone like Adam Sandler, Kevin Hart, Will Ferrell, or David Spade, or Mike Myers, Eddie Murphy, or especially like Jim Carrey. You have a blueprint, not just for the Christmas movie, but someone like that, that could do those extra characters. Like, you could have a long-lasting franchise, and the characters any of those guys could bring to life could be generally like really funny. With the right writers and a fun director, you could have gold.
You could, honestly, we could not necessarily just Ernest, but like, you don't want to rebirth the Ernest character, but I mean, just like a wacky, guy or woman who is, maybe an Uber driver now instead of a taxi driver, looking for whatever it might be. It's workable. It's workable. Needs some updating.
Some serious updating.
A little bit of updating, but I think it's so, like, the plot itself is not offensive and it's not crossing any lines. It's sweet.
Yeah.
It's a nice, wholesome movie.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you could totally bring this back. 100%.
So, movie score time. Out of 10, what would you?
It's hard for this one. Because I feel, if watching it alone,
I was back and forth on this one too.
Yeah. Watching it alone, maybe a 5. Watching it with people who are little, and let me rephrase that, young people, it'd probably go up to a 7. Because I think it's because when you're looking for a family friendly something, you have your go-tos. I think this could be a family friendly go-to. By myself, I'm probably not watching this again.
Yeah, yes. I'm going to give it a 6, which our official rating is 6, is pretty kind of good. I enjoyed it to varying degrees and will watch it again. It just might take another 10 or more years though. And it might actually be less than that. A lot of my score was from the fact that I saw it in the theater with my brother and liked it. Nostalgia played a powerful, in this case, it was a helpful tool, but I'm not going to watch it tomorrow. I'm not going to watch it this holiday season again, but I might put it on for the kids. If they like it and next year they want it on, I'll give it a go, maybe, or maybe a couple years from now. It was cheap. I mean, you saw the metal anchor on that car at the beginning to make the sparks, but they knew it knew it, and they shot accordingly. It hit some decent holiday buttons and thus had Christmas spirit. Like you said, it was genuine. They had some decent acting, and Jim Varney is just so talented. He made the movie. He was the movie. It's not going on my must-watch Christmas movie list, but it will be a nice breather from the constant repeats every few to 10 years. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. But yeah, no, this is not an every year Christmas classic. However, if I'm hanging out with all of my younger cousins,
it could be a perfect one to throw on.
A good one to throw on where, you know, they laugh at the bumbling man who falls down a lot and causes a ruckus wherever he goes, you know, and then there's an underlying Christmas wholesome goodness story that just kind of pops up and you don't realize it's been developing the entire time. Yeah. Overall, nice. It's a nice movie.
All right. So thank you for joining us and watching Ernest Saves Christmas or listening to us talk about it. Please, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. Remember, we here at I Remember Liking That Movie podcast are not responsible if you watch said movie that we are talking about and you do not agree with our views or scores. And yeah, hope you're enjoying your Christmas.
Congratulations. You just had one of your childhood movie memories vindicated. Or they just eviscerated it. I don't know. This is a generic one-size-fits-all type of ending to the podcast. So thank you for listening, and please join Anna and Jimmy next time for another episode of the I Remember Liking That Movie podcast. If you dare to go back and watch that movie you remember liking,